with NDTV. You're tuned into the Thursday edition of India Global. I'm Arjun Samar Mahendran. And well, we have a packed show for you. But first, here are the headlines. Sources indicate Indian team to visit Washington soon for second round of talks on tariffs with US. PM Modi becomes most internationally honored Indian Prime Minister with 27 global awards. World thanks PM Modi in 27 different ways. Canada hikes minimum money express entry fund applicants must now show their bank balance. Starlink gets final nod to launch satellite broadband in India, must now acquire spectrum from the government, establish ground infrastructure and demonstrate compliance with national security requirements. India is currently the leading country of origin for billionaire immigrants in the US. Forbes notes in its America's Richest Immigrants 2025 list published this week. And on to our top focus on India Global this Thursday, viewers. An Indian Commerce Ministry team will soon visit Washington for another round of talks with the US for a proposed trade pact. Now, as per government sources to NDTV Profit, the negotiations will in fact happen on both the interim and the first phase of the bilateral trade agreement during the visit. Now, the visit dates have not yet been made public or have been finalized. However, sources are saying that the team is expected to visit Washington as early as next week. Meanwhile, earlier this month, the Indian team led by Chief Negotiator Rajesh Agrawal returned from Washington after concluding talks on the pact. My colleague Rishabh joins us for more on this. Rishabh, what can we expect from this second visit? And is India looking to, in fact, seal the mini deal by the August 1st deadline?
Right, Arjun, what we're picking up is the fact that firstly, this is not the second visit that will happen. This is perhaps the third or fourth visit that this team of negotiators led by Special Secretary of the Commerce Department, Rajesh Agrawal, will be undertaking to Washington. This is perhaps the fourth visit that will be undertaken, and this comes obviously under the context that a trade deal or an interim trade deal or a mini trade deal was expected to be finalized around the July 9 tariff pause deadline, but that has not happened. We're at July 10th today, and we don't see a sign of a deal. In fact, there is another round of trade talks that is scheduled to happen. That has happened obviously because of certain uncertainties that have come in from the American side and certain key red lines that India has stuck to in terms of the uncertainties that have been brought on by the Trump administration. One is, of course, the BRICS tariff. There is an additional 10% BRICS tariff that Trump has threatened BRICS countries with, which BRICS, obviously, India is also a part of that country grouping. That is one. Then there is the pressure of additional tariffs coming in the form of US-Russia relations souring, and because India imports a lot of oil from Russia, there is a threat of that import also being tariffed as high as 500%, given that Trump is set to also introduce a bill and approve that bill as well. Those are the uncertainties from the American side. From the Indian side has stuck to agriculture, dairy, by not budging on that in terms of market access for American companies, and that is something that is proving to be a sour spot in terms of trade talks between the two countries. Now, the tariff pause deadline has shifted to August 1st, so that is what we are also expecting, a deal before August 1st perhaps, and obviously the visit by the Indian negotiators prior to that August 1st deadline.
Rishabh, are you picking anything in relation to India relaxing or stepping back when it comes to dairy and agri products, as you mentioned?
Arjun, Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal has maintained that each and every FTA that India signs will be made keeping national interests in mind. And when he says national interests, he specified that he also means the interests of India's farmers, given that India is a very large agrarian economy still. A large part of our population still depends on their very small and medium-sized land holdings for their livelihoods, and any sort of an impact coming in from agri or dairy, be it GM or non-GM crops, it could prove to be a blow for these livelihoods. So it is yet to see whether India will relax any of these import quotas for agri or dairy. It is possible that certain thresholds are introduced, but we have no clarity or confirmation on that so far.
Thank you so much for putting things in perspective there, Rishabh. Now, moving on, viewers, there's a big update for anyone eyeing immigration to Canada, viewers, especially for Indian applicants. Now, the new express entry rules have just dropped, and there's a deadline you cannot possibly miss. That's correct. Canada has raised the minimum money express entry fund applicants must show in their banks. Now, this affects those applying through the federal skilled worker and the skilled trades programs, which includes thousands from India. Now, the new minimum for a single applicant is around 15,000 Canadian dollars, which comes up to over 9 lakh rupees. Speaking of a family of 4, it's around 28,000 Canadian dollars or 16.7 lakh rupees. The amount goes up with each family member added. Now, proof of funds must also come from official bank letters showing balances, debts, and a 6-month history. No loans or property count. Many Indian banks, meanwhile, are now issuing these letters in the IRCC compliant format. Indian applicants make up a huge share of express entry candidates in Canada. So if you're planning your move, update your proof of funds by the 28th of July or risk losing eligibility. That's correct. Your express entry rank won't change, but your documentation surely must. Visit IRCC's site for the full chart and checklist. Meanwhile, Canada is waiting, viewers. Just make sure your bank balance is true. And my colleague Mahas Siddiqui gets us more from Canada's Vancouver on this.
This may be an annual exercise by the IRCC, the federal department that deals with the issue of immigration, but considering the recent changes, the constant changes in the immigration policy in Canada, this announcement too assumes significance. The announcement is around the funds requirement for applicants who want to immigrate to Canada under express entry, which is applicable for skilled workers. The funds requirement for an individual has gone up to 15,263 Canadian dollars, which is almost up by 500 Canadian dollars. IRCC has released the full list of the amounts that an applicant needs to show depending on the number of individuals or family members they are applying for. The applicant to express entry needs to update the profile by the 28th of July, though the IRCC has clarified that updating their profile will not change or bring about any correction to the date of the original application that they made for express entry. The issue of immigration in Canada has become a contentious one over the last couple of years, with many people relating the housing crisis and rising inflation with immigrants. Although there is no conclusive and concrete evidence to show any correlation between the two issues. However, Canada has seen a shift in the perception of immigration. The Canada that for 5 decades welcomed immigrants with open arms, the sentiment over the last few years has soured, and there have been policy changes because of the political need to do so as well. Under express entry itself, the skilled workers have been, in fact, now being welcomed under 6 major categories, 6 to 7 major categories, which includes STEM streams, agriculture, healthcare, French fluency and proficiency. All these are closely tied to the labor market demands. That is what the government in Canada says with regards to immigration, and that henceforth the skills will be closely matched with the labor market and will be constantly revised, considering that immigration has become an issue of constant political chatter here in Canada.
Well, shifting focus now to PM Modi, who has added two more feathers to his cap. Well, that's correct, bringing his total number of global accolades to a whopping 27. Here's a report. On Wednesday, Namibia awarded PM Modi its highest civilian honour, the Order of the Most Ancient Welwitschia Mirabilis. It's a rare tribute named after a desert plant that symbolizes resilience and long life. Just a day earlier, on Tuesday, Brazil conferred its Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross, their top honor for foreign nationals, recognizing PM Modi's leadership and growing global influence. Over the past few years, countries across every continent have in fact honored PM Modi. From the United States Legion of Merit to France's Grand Cross of the Legion of Honor, to Russia's Order of St. Andrew, and Saudi Arabia's King Abdulaziz Honor. African nations like Ghana, Nigeria, and Egypt have also followed suit, along with Caribbean countries like Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and Guyana. Plus island nations such as the Maldives, Fiji, and Palau. Each award celebrates diplomacy, PM Modi's leadership, and of course, deepening international ties, with India emerging as the voice of the global South, making PM Modi one of the most globally decorated Indian leaders in history. With honors spanning Asia to the Americas, the world seems to be taking note, and it's saying thank you in 27 different ways. Bureau Report, NDTV. And shifting focus to India, where a major update is expected this week. In fact, in India's worst air disaster in over 4 decades, viewers. Sources say the prelim report into the June 12 crash of Air India Boeing flight number AI 171 in Ahmedabad is in fact likely to be released in the coming days. Now, the report led by the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is expected to outline the sequence of events, details of the crash, and early findings from the probe as well. The tragic crash claimed 241 lives from the airliner, with just one survivor among the 242 on board. The aircraft failed to gain altitude after taking off from Ahmedabad airport. Investigators, meanwhile, say it peaked at just 625 feet before going down. India's AAIB is being supported by the US NTSB, Boeing, GE, and even an ICAO expert. Now, this was the first fatal crash of a Boeing 787 globally. The final report may take months, but for now, all eyes are on this week's preliminary findings. Meanwhile, Starlink, the satellite communication firm owned by Elon Musk, has received a regulatory clearance from the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Centre, or INSpace, to launch its satellite-based internet services in India, as per sources. Now, sources also indicated to NDTV that Starlink has become the third company to receive approval for satellite communication, or SATCOM services as they are called, from the Department of Telecommunications, after OneWeb and Reliance Jio.
INSpace, which is our space authorization body, which gives a go ahead for any satellite communication company to operate their satellites in India, has given and granted their authorization to Starlink's first generation of constellations. Now, they have many satellites in the low Earth orbit, which is about 2,000 kilometers from the Earth's surface. That's the low Earth orbit. They have about 4,480 satellites is what INSpace is saying, and that approval to operate these satellites has been given by INSpace, which is the space authorization authorization body. Now, we had reported, in fact, on 28th of May on NDTV Profit that the initial throughput meaning the capacity of internet that they will be able to provide over the Indian market is about 600 Gbps. That's the initial capacity. But in the second generation, what you can expect is more capacity from Starlink. Although even that is limited, a little technical, but if you go through it, you'll be able to understand better. Starlink's next step after this authorization will be to apply for a test spectrum. They will write to the Department of Telecommunications to show that their whole operation and their whole setup does work for India, and trials will be made after they apply to the DOT. Post that, of course, what InSpace is actually saying is that 7th of July 2030, which is 5 years from now, is the timeline for which this authorization has been given. Or if the life of the generation 1 satellites ends before that, either of it will be the timeline for which the authorization has been given to Starlink so far. So that's the update so far. And Starlink has said that they will be able to launch the service by end of 2026, not before that.
And shifting focus to Europe now, where a brutal heat wave has turned deadly. Viewers, a rapid scientific study estimates around 2,300 heat-related deaths in just 10 days across 12 major European cities. Spain scorched past 40 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, fire raged in France. And now scientists say over 1,500 of those deaths were in fact driven by climate change. That's correct. Researchers from the Imperial College London and the London School of Hygiene say climate change has added up to 4 degrees more heat in these cities, pushing temperatures into the deadly territory. Now, the study used health data and past records to estimate the toll, since most heat deaths go unnoticed in official numbers. For record here, June was also the Earth's third hottest month on record. In Western Europe, it was the hottest June ever. Now, experts warn that heat waves like this will only get worse, hotter, longer, and deadlier. Now, this as climate change accelerates. The message is loud and clear. Climate change is not a future threat. It's killing people right now. And where it's time we slip into a break, much more on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching India Global with me, Arjun Sabar Mahendran. Shifting focus to India, and a very important story coming in from Birkenstock. The sustainable, comfortable German sandal brand has filed a case in the Delhi High Court alleging several sellers and even merchandisers in India for selling replicas of their famous flat footwear. My colleague Mayank has all the details. Listen in.
It's the season of fashion foes. First Prada, then Crocs, and now the German footwear giant Birkenstock has entered the game. Famous for its cork-based strappy sandals, the widely popular shoemakers Birkenstock have decided to file a case in Delhi High Court against a number of factories and sellers, accusing them of producing and selling replicas of the iconic flat footwear. As Indians, we are no strangers to counterfeit luxury products. Here in the capital, one can easily access replicas of designer bags and footwear. Birkenstock has taken legal action to halt the production and sale of fake Birkenstock products, signaling a strong stance against intellectual property infringement. A team of 10 lawyers have been appointed to visit the alleged locations, inspect and seize the products if needed. Birkenstock has accused around 4 factories and traders, as well as 2 unidentified individuals, for manufacturing their trademark products in India, as well as internationally. This comes after Prada has been sent a legal notice by a petitioner in India. Those with a humble income settle for these stunning knockoffs. Global brands see it in two ways. One as a sign of market domination, others as a sign of threat. With camera person Ishita Kaur, this is Mayank Chaudhary for NDTV.
And with the fifth match series levelled at 1-1, Team India and England now face each other in the third test at Lord's, London. The result of this game, in fact, will have a big say on the fate of the five-match test series. India lost their first game to England by 5 wickets, but they bounced back in an incredible fashion and won the next game by 336 runs. And from conducting stem cells experiments in a glove box to experiencing microgravity for the first time, Indian Air Force officer Shubhanshu Shukla is now nearing the end of his 14-day mission aboard the International Space Station, or the ISS. We get you a reaction of Shubhanshu beaming from space.
So, Shuks, I know you've been very busy with your research that has been brought up from India. Can you tell me about some of the research you've been doing and why it's been particularly interesting and exciting?
Of course. Thank you so much for your question. I would agree. Yes, I have been very busy since the time we have come, doing a lot of research on the station. And I'm very excited. And this mission is actually kind of opening the doors for microgravity or space research for Indian researchers and scientists. And I'm so proud that ISRO has been able to collaborate with national institutions all over the country, and they came up with some fantastic research which I am doing on the station for all the scientists and researchers. And it is exciting. It is a joy to do this. And the research spans various domains, various disciplines, right from doing some stem cell research and to growing some seeds, seeing the effect of microgravity on seeds, also evaluating the cognitive load on astronauts while they are interacting with screens on board the station. So it has been fantastic, and I feel proud to be this kind of bridge between the researchers and the station to conduct this research on behalf of them. One particular research which I am really excited about is the stem cell research, wherein the scientists are trying to explore that whether by adding supplements to the stem cells, is it possible to accelerate the recovery or the growth, or to repair the injury. And it has been great to work in the glove box doing this research for them. And I'm just really excited to be doing this. And I'm extremely proud of all the teams who have worked together to put up this research for us, and just happy to be here doing this for them. Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for you this Thursday. Take care and have a wonderful day.